Welcome to another Insider Special Report. I'm Jarret Johnson. I'm joined by the Mighty Joe Yeager. Mighty Joe, man, we're here at the USA. Coach Matt Wells was just introduced to the Red Raider faithful. Man, I got to say, I feel like he really crushed it. I think he did a great job. But what was your overall takeaway from his press conference?
Yeah, it's just it's a night and day sort of a feel to it. Yeah. It really is, and it's, you know, don't want to bag on the guys who are gone, but I mean, this is a change that I felt really needed to occur, and now that it has occurred, I mean, it's not simply a matter of having a new head coach and a new defensive coordinator and staff and so forth and so on. It's about having a very different head coach.
Right.
I mean, this. I mean, again, not knocking Kingsbury or anybody, but this is Wells brings a totally different feel to this program, and for somebody who's wanting just a kind of a different feel, a different, I don't know, atmosphere, a different culture. Yeah, it's culture. Exactly. A different approach, a different plan of attack.
Yes.
You know, I mean, this is it. This is what you're getting. I mean, you're gonna. Now, I mean, schematically, there are obviously going to be continuities, as the coordinators in particular made pretty clear, but everything else about the program is going to change.
I heard blue collar, I heard tough, and a commitment to the running game in November. Yeah. Hallelujah. Now, we'll see if it happens, if it materializes, but that's what Wells said today, and those are the things. Look, there are a lot of things you hear in these kind of press conferences that will be similar all the way around, everywhere in the country. But those were some keywords, some buzzwords that it was important for me, just as an observer of Red Raider football, that I needed to hear. And that, I don't even believe that was a question. That was just from him. We're going to be a blue collar, we're going to tough team, and we're going to run the football. You know, so, and with physicality. So, you know, and another thing he said, and I literally said this to you before the press conference, was that, you know, sometimes these kids just need a boot in the patoot, you know? I mean, I still do. I'm getting close to 40, and I do. I still need somebody. Sometimes, you know, my dad would call me and be like, hey, man, you need to get your stuff together, or my wife more times than not. College kids, college athletes, they need it, man. They need that boot in the patoot sometimes. And he literally said he's going to put his size 13 Under Armours, you know, between guys' cheeks if they get out, you know, if they get out of line too much. So, those are the things I wanted to hear from him. And I loved all the ain't, like, you know, I'm not supposed to say ain't and y'all and everything. You know, he's a Oklahoma native, of course, and he said, hey, I'm back here in Texas, I can say that. You know, and the crowd went crazy when he did that.
Yeah. I mean, he really seems like a natural fit. I was talking to Rob Verby, our colleague, after this was all over.
Yeah.
And I was saying that in a lot of ways, Coach Wells seems more like a true West Texan than Kliff Kingsbury did. You know, and I mean, Kingsbury was a native Texan, of course, but I mean, Wells just has the authenticity, the real flavor of somebody you would expect from this kind of part of the world. And, you know, I think the fans are really going to love him. He's a good salesman. I tell you one thing that's different about him in Kingsbury is he likes to talk.
Yeah.
Kingsbury.
They had to go get him. Yeah, that's the difference. Like the days of like skipping an opening statement and brief short press conferences, all that. And also I've heard it looks like I wouldn't be surprised if we get more access in the media too. I don't want to promise it, but that's everything I've heard. So all those are going to be very different. I think you're going to get more access to your Red Raider football program.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I mean, that's something that was a hallmark of Mike Leach in his program. And there are connections, particularly with David Yost, having coached for Leach as well. And, you know, I think there are going to be some similarities there in terms of access, attending practice, which we may be able to do a little bit more than in the past. And so, again, another one of those refreshing changes.
Well, Coach Yost even said when y'all come out to practice, in his media availability with us local scribes, that, you know, hey, when y'all are out to practice, which I immediately looked at one of the SIDs like, all right, you know, like I'm going to hold him to that. So, well, I am excited about that. And speaking of Yost, we could talk about the coordinators now. We got to talk with both of them, and Joe and I both asked them some questions. I love what they said, man. I feel like they were candid and open. I think first off, I think Yost is going to be an absolute star here in Lubbock, especially if, you know, they have the type of success that we expect and type of success that Yost has had, honestly, like Missouri, Utah State, Oregon, everywhere he's been at. I think y'all are going to love him. He's quirky, but he's also, there's some substance to what he says, you know. I think just a big highlight for me, the tight end position is going to be huge in this offense. What Yost said, they're going to use 11 personnel a lot, 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 receivers. That tight end will be on the line sometimes. It will be kind of an H-back, fullback kind of guy, and then we'll be split out, I'm not saying like him, but a la Jason Morrow in this offense years back. So that's something you're going to see moving forward as far as X's and O's, how important the tight end position is in Yost's offense. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think the thing that stood out to me, and which was music to my ears, is the fact that he said that we're going to run 6 plays 10,000 times rather than 10,000 plays 6 times.
Which is very Leach, right?
It's extremely Leach. That's straight out of his philosophy of football. Is you don't do necessarily a whole lot of stuff, but what you do, you rep it and you rep it and you rep it, and it's monotonous and it's second nature. And what that means is you're executing better than the other guys. Maybe they know what's coming, but they can't stop it.
Exactly.
And that was something that Tom Osborne did at Nebraska. Obviously not an air raid sort of a situation. But they just ran power eye, and they just lined up and knocked you off the ball and kicked your butt, and before you knew it, they had 80 points on the board on the ground. So I think that if I was an offensive coordinator, that's the way I would do it. That's something I really, really believe in, is that sort of execution and repetition. And so I was happy to hear that.
Me too. And then with Coach Patterson, obviously he has a lot of experience in the Big 12. He has experience in Texas some, even in the high school ranks. He coached at Allen, one of the biggest programs and one of them in the state, if not the country, and most successful. In one of the, just one of the powerhouses in the country. So that's good to know. And I tell you what, he talked about, and this is what you'll hear a lot moving forward. They're outside linebackers, and some of this will be familiar. He said they're going to be multiple. Yeah, they'll run 3-3-5 sometimes they'll look 3-4. But all right, with his outside linebackers, he has a spur backer, which is kind of a hybrid between a DB, like a safety, and an outside linebacker. And then you have the Raider, he said, which he just coined it last night, which is going to be like, and this is going to be, and we've heard from some guys who are familiar with Coach Patterson, this is going to be like such an important position for the Red Raider defense. But the Raider backer is more of like a defensive end hybrid, linebacker hybrid.
Kind of like a rush end in Gibbs system, perhaps a little bit.
Absolutely. So those are going to be positions you'll hear a lot about, and that'll be really important with this defense, X's and O's wise. But I liked Patterson, he seems like he said a lot of the things I wanted to hear about relationships with recruiting, because it really is. That's what I always say when people ask me. That's what it boils down to, is who you know and how well you know them, and your rep. So I really liked Patterson too, honestly.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He definitely seems like a good fit, a good man. That's something that really just came across to me, is that he was a genuine, likable sort of a person. And
all 3 of them, really?
Yeah.
They weren't like, maybe it's just because it's early and we're new, but they weren't defensive at all about anything. They were willing to talk about whatever we asked,
Yeah, very, again, in contrast to the previous regime, is these guys are engaging. They seem genuinely excited to talk about what they do and what they love to do and how they're going to do it. And very confident in what they're doing moving forward. So it looks like a good group.
And then one thing, just all three, Wells, Patterson, and Yost all said, was when they asked, are you going to do this or are you going to do that? Are you going to use this kind of system? And they all said they're going to look at their personnel and adjust to it, which I think you're talking about kind of a key tenet to coaching that you like, being, hey, if you have something and you can run it, then make them stop you before you stop running it. Be repetitive. Well, one of mine is not trying to make your personnel do something they can't, they're incapable of, just because it's your system. The best coaches, in my humble opinion, will mold their system around. Everybody has their stuff that they want to run, but the best coaches can mold their scheme around their personnel. And all 3 of them mentioned that kind of they didn't ask, like, are you going to move your system around for your personnel? No, they kind of brought that up, and in different ways. So that was big for me, key for me here, and very encouraging. Mighty Joe, last but not least, Alan Bowman spoke to us, and he was great. For those of you unfamiliar, because freshmen were always, we couldn't talk to them by team rule, but he's very engaging, very intelligent, very impressive young man. He was through the recruiting process too. I think you're gonna get it's gonna be a treat for y'all to get to know him a little bit more. And man, all positive. He's a Red Raider. He said he's here. Coach Yost even mentioned that he came and picked him up in his Jeep and brought him here. He said, which is not an NCAA violation. If I had given him a ride, it would have been, but not with Bowman picking me up. So that, I mean, obviously that's a really good sign if your quarterback literally gave your offensive coordinator a ride to the press conference. But also he said he should be healthy and good to go. And I know you interviewed, an expert here in town. So I want to get your take on what Bowman said about his injury, and then of course, being here and being a Red Raider.
Yeah, it sounds like he's gonna be good to go. I mean, it's a process of where you have to allow a significant amount of time for this to heal. But by the time spring ball rolls around, he's going to be ready to go. He should be in good shape. He said that there's scar tissue that develops on the lung from these sorts of injuries. And the thing is, it can be a problem if you rush out there too early and you get hit, and you get hit in the same spot, and then that injury becomes larger and it becomes more dangerous, and you have to, he used the term major surgery. Okay, but if the process is allowed to heal to its complete conclusion, then the way it sounds like, it shouldn't be an issue anymore. So we hopefully will never see a collapsed lung from Alan Bowman again. I'm sure he feels the same way.
Yeah, a couple of comments he made that were very telling. Like I said, he's a very articulate, impressive young man. He said when it happened, when he said the video of him slamming his helmet down at halftime warm-ups is because he knew he was going to have invasive surgery again right then. It's very painful and how much that sucks. Yeah, that's what he was most upset about in that moment. And then also he said about the scar tissue that the doctors told him about 10 weeks, I believe he said, is when it would the scar tissue would develop, I guess. And I'm no doctor here, didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express, but he did say that the hope is that after that's completely healed, that the scar tissue could make it even stronger than it was previously before the original injury. So, I mean, it was all positivity, honestly, Mighty Joe. And I don't know about you, but if you can't tell, we're both pretty energized by it, by the changes. And we respect what the previous coaching staff did, hope the best for them. But at the same time, the fresh blood, the hope there that we've seen is energizing.
Yeah. I mean, if a change hadn't been made at head coaching, at the head coaching position here at Texas Tech football, if that hadn't occurred, look, I mean, we all would have gone into next year just slogging through.
Yeah.
It would have been a chore, a job, drudgery, whatever you want to call it. But now,
that's the truth.
That's the truth. But now we can go in with some genuine excitement.
Yes.
We don't have to try to manufacture anything or pretend or act or anything, because we're really going to be quite interested and excited by what the potential may be. So Tech football is looking up again. So I mean, we all are on board with that, right?
Absolutely. Great stuff from you, Mighty Joe, as always. Thank you all for watching, and until next time.